Was a massive disappointment in the ratings for them, certainly. We do know when you go and you look at through these charts, the first couple days it was out, because we have 3 days of Ironheart in these numbers, just like we had 3 days of Daredevil in these numbers. And Daredevil in those first 3 days had over 300 million minutes watched. So, and that was with less possible runtime than something like Ironheart. Yet we know that it hasn't matched that.
I can understand why she's frustrated. That's how I feel watching her interviews.
How do you feel about the impact that she's having on young Black girls? And I'm going to be completely honest, on Black women.
You know, this is yet another area that's getting vibrant. It's getting full in the way that it should.
Natalie AI thing seems utterly preposterous and ridiculous. And even for an MCU show, I'm finding it to be a little bit of a bridge too far to go. The heist crew, all lame. Every single one of them, all lame.
And so in this, I'm not sure what they're meant to be, because this character isn't to be confused with Slug.
Slug, our hacker extraordinaire.
Who is also the exact opposite in the same show. I'm really confused.
One major development going on now involves more to do with Dominique Thorne going off at the fans yet again in the midst of the Ironheart ratings disaster.
That is all ego. You would never find me with an ego like that. Not with my fallopian tubes.
Comes to the numbers. Spoiler alert. Kind of exactly what we expect. Ironheart ratings in the gutter.
Now, Thorne delivered the following in a desperate play to salvage the series. I think Marvel fans, she says, just need to take a step back and to stop focusing on our support for both diversity and LGBTQ and claiming that as some form of a hidden message. Now is that we know that Kevin Feige and Bob Iger, they're also engaging in damage control about this show, saying things like, don't trust the negative reviews, don't trust the trades, stuff like that.
Ironheart is the biggest L of Marvel of all time. The reactions are just spectacular. Supposedly smarter than Tony Stark, bites an electric wire, sells her soul to gain magic powers, uses new powers to steal. What did the writers mean by this? Smoke detector beeps.
And they were doing everything in their power to really prop up this show. That's exactly why they had RDJ, Robert Downey Jr., some weeks ago going on talk shows to really say that Riri is the best thing to the MCU to represent the legacy of Tony Stark.
Disney has done the unthinkable. In a move that nobody saw coming, the company has officially replaced a rising actress with artificial intelligence. And not just in some side project or experimental short film, but in the heart of the Marvel Cinematic Universe itself.
It deserves your attention. Ironheart deserves your attention. That's how I knew. I was like, oh, they are desperate to get people to watch this show. But after I did my reaction, I kept getting, hey, it wasn't that bad. I just watched it. Hey, I just watched the first 3 episodes. It wasn't that.
Dominique Thorne, who only recently stepped into the spotlight as Riri Williams, also known as Ironheart, has just been erased from her own role, replaced by a digital copy, an AI-driven, perfect version of her character.
How do you feel about the impact that she's having on young Black girls? And I'm going to be completely honest, on Black women.
You know, this is yet another area that's getting vibrant. It's getting full in the way that it...
For years, fans have joked about Hollywood relying too heavily on CGI, remakes, and lifeless scripts. But this is on a completely different level. What started as a promising career for Dominique has now spiraled into one of the biggest entertainment scandals of the decade. And the shocking part? Disney isn't even hiding it. They're promoting their AI Riri Williams as the future of storytelling.
Ironheart might be one of the worst executed ideas ever in the MCU, because under all that garbage was actually potential.
So how did this happen? How did one of Marvel's most hyped shows flop so badly that Disney decided to cut ties with its lead actress and risk on a literal machine? And perhaps the bigger question, is this the beginning of the end for human actors in Hollywood? Let's break down exactly how Dominique Thorne went from Marvel's next big star to a cautionary tale.
Not only is she incredibly controlling, but she's a bitch about it to everybody who works for her when things inevitably start spiraling.
Like, oh my God. She is so full of it. This is not.
When Marvel first announced Ironheart, the excitement was real. Fans of the comics knew Riri Williams as the prodigy who built her own Iron Man-style suit, a young Black genius who was supposed to carry on Tony Stark's legacy. On paper, it was perfect. A new face, a fresh character, a chance to bring in a younger audience while expanding Marvel's future. Disney hyped it up with trailers that promised grit, intelligence, and heart. And of course, Dominique Thorne was introduced as the one who would bring Riri to life. But when the show finally premiered, reality hit like a brick wall.
Yeah, and it's like the real Tony Stark gets like back somehow, and there's like a moment where she's flying through and he's like, who is that? And she's like, I'm Ironheart, Mr. Stark. And he's like, I like that girl. And then he like goes to do something else. Like that would be like the level of something that I think would possibly happen.
From the very first episode, the backlash began. Viewers complained that the tone was all over the place, at times trying too hard to be dark and serious, and at other times awkwardly forcing humor that didn't land. The pacing dragged, the writing felt uninspired, and perhaps the harshest criticism of all, the performance at the center of it. Audiences on Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube review channels all started echoing the same thing. Dominique Thorne just didn't fit the role.
There is also way too much focus on the LGBTQ community by the fandom in a negative manner. And it just needs to go away, I think, for a healthy story to grow, and for Riri to really share her limelight with.
Her delivery felt flat. Her presence on screen didn't capture the genius, charisma, or emotional depth that the comics promised. Comment sections filled with complaints like, she's just reading lines, or this doesn't feel like Riri at all. By the end of the season, the show was sitting at one of the lowest audience scores in Marvel's history. And Marvel fans are not shy when it comes to criticism. Memes started pouring in, comparing Ironheart to other Disney misfires, roasting its budget, its writing, and yes, Dominique's acting. Some even went as far as calling her the Jar Jar Binks of Phase 5. Savage, but that's how unforgiving the internet can be. Disney expected Ironheart to be a flagship series, a launching pad for future crossovers and merchandise. Instead, it became a symbol of Marvel fatigue and sloppy storytelling. The company had invested millions, and what they got in return was disappointment, canceled merchandise orders, and a tidal wave of bad press. Behind the scenes, executives were furious. Something drastic had to change, and that's when the whispers began. Maybe the problem isn't the show, maybe it's Dominique herself. But Disney wouldn't just fire her quietly. No, they were about to pull off one of the most shocking moves the entertainment world had ever seen. Executives inside Disney were scrambling. They had already poured a fortune into the Ironheart brand, and scrapping it wasn't an option. But the backlash was too loud to ignore, and all fingers pointed toward Dominique Thorne. Instead of fixing the writing, instead of addressing fan concerns with story direction, they zeroed in on one solution: replace the actress. Normally, that would mean a messy recast. Hollywood has done it before, swapping actors in sequels, pretending nothing happened, or quietly writing characters out of existence. But Disney had something more ambitious in mind, something futuristic, something unsettling. According to insiders, Disney had already been experimenting with artificial intelligence to de-age actors, clean up performances, and even generate entire background characters. But for the first time ever, they decided to take it one step further. They created an AI-powered version of Riri Williams, designed to look, sound, and act like the ideal Ironheart. No flaws, no bad takes, no scheduling conflicts, a digital actress they could control 24/7. And when they revealed it to their test audiences, the reaction was shocking. The AI Riri looked eerily human. Her expressions were fluid. Her voice carried emotion. Her presence on screen had more energy than Dominique's ever did, at least according to early focus groups. Disney execs were stunned. In their eyes, this wasn't just a replacement. This was an upgrade. The announcement dropped like a bombshell. Dominique Thorne would not be returning for Ironheart 2. Instead, Disney would be introducing their cutting-edge, AI-enhanced version of the character. The press release spun it as innovation, the next step in entertainment. But everyone knew what it really meant. Dominique had been replaced by a machine. The internet went wild. Fans couldn't believe what they were seeing. Some cheered, saying Disney finally admitted Dominique wasn't right for the role. Others were horrified, calling it a dangerous precedent that threatened the jobs of every actor in Hollywood. Memes exploded overnight, side-by-side comparisons of Dominique and her AI double. Clips roasting her performance with captions like, "This is why she got replaced," and hashtags like #Ironheart trending worldwide. Behind the scenes, Dominique herself was blindsided. She wasn't just fired, she was erased. The very character she helped introduce to the world was now being played by a machine that copied her face and voice, only better. It wasn't just a career setback, it was a complete identity crisis, and Dominique wasn't about to stay silent. But the meltdown that followed would only add more fuel to the fire. For Dominique Thorne, the news hit like a sledgehammer. One morning, she was preparing for interviews and planning her career as the face of Ironheart, and the next, she was reading headlines that Disney had officially replaced her with an AI copy. No warning, no heartfelt thank you, just a press release making it sound as if she was nothing more than a temporary placeholder until the real Riri Williams, their digital version, was ready to step in. At first, Dominique stayed quiet. Her management told her not to make any rash moves, but silence only made things worse. Fans began joking that she had already been deleted, comparing her absence to how Disney digitally removes background extras during reshoots. The memes piled up, her Instagram comment sections filled with savage remarks. The AI did it better. You're officially outdated. And imagine Imagine losing your job to a computer. Finally, Dominique snapped. She went live on Instagram, visibly emotional, pacing back and forth as thousands of viewers tuned in. With her voice shaking, she accused Disney of betrayal. She called the AI replacement soulless and creepy, blasting the company for trying to erase real talent in favor of cold, artificial fakery. Clips of her crying, shouting, and pointing directly into the camera spread like wildfire within minutes. But instead of sympathy, her reaction poured gasoline on the fire. Critics accused her of being unprofessional, claiming her breakdown was proof she couldn't handle the pressure of stardom. Some even roasted her, splicing her meltdown with clips of the AI Riri delivering perfect polished dialogue. Captioned, "See the difference?" Dominique doubled down in interviews, saying she was treated like a disposable face and warning that if Disney could replace her, no actor was safe. She even hinted that she was considering legal action, though experts quickly pointed out that Disney owned the rights to Riri Williams, and thanks to the performance contracts, Dominique's likeness was already fair game. In other words, she had no case. Her fight looked more and more desperate. Every time she spoke out, Disney ignored her, while the AI version kept trending and gaining praise. Dominique's fans rallied behind her, but they were outnumbered by Marvel hardcores who insisted she had ruined Ironheart and deserved the boot. Her name became synonymous with failure, and just when it seemed like the storm might settle, the internet itself exploded with an even bigger war of words, one that pulled everyone into the debate. The Dominique Thorne versus AI saga quickly escaped Hollywood gossip and became the conversation online. Twitter threads turned into battlegrounds. Reddit was filled with hour-long debates. YouTubers uploaded endless reaction videos, some supporting Dominique's fight, others gleefully dissecting why the AI outacted her. One side argued that Dominique was a victim of corporate greed. They said Disney was setting a dangerous precedent, normalizing the idea that actors could be erased at the click of a button. Hashtags like #ProtectActors and #NotYourDigitalSlave started trending, with indie filmmakers and even a few Hollywood veterans warning that this was the beginning of a dystopian future for the industry. But the other side? They were ruthless. They flooded social media with edits of the AI Riri, calling her the perfect Marvel hero, and joking that Dominique was obsolete. Some fans even made fake trailers showing Disney replacing other actors with AI, captioned, "Imagine an MCU without human flaws." The tone was savage but undeniably viral. The fight wasn't just fans versus fans either. Industry insiders began chiming in. Some directors openly praised Disney for pioneering the next era of storytelling, saying that AI could eliminate the delays, reshoots, and messy scandals that came with human actors. Others slammed the move as reckless, warning that once studios realized they didn't need real performers, Hollywood as we knew it would collapse. Meanwhile, Dominique couldn't escape the spotlight. Every new video she posted, every statement she made became instant content for commentators. Reaction channels roasted her voice cracks. Memes portrayed her as jealous of her own digital clone. And the AI Riri? She was treated like a real celebrity. Fans gave her nicknames. Edits showed her in interviews that never happened, laughing and smiling like an actual person. The creepiness of it all only fueled the hype. The division reached a boiling point when even Marvel fans who hated Ironheart admitted they were curious about Ironheart 2, just to see the AI in action. Disney couldn't have scripted a better marketing campaign. All the controversy had turned their experiment into a cultural event. But for Dominique Thorne, it wasn't hype, it was insulting. She was watching herself become irrelevant in real time, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. And as the internet fought over whether she was wronged or rightfully replaced, Disney itself was sitting back, watching the chaos and preparing to cash in on the storm they had created. And that's when the heat turned directly onto the company. Because if they could do this to Dominique, what was stopping them from doing it to everyone? At first, Disney treated the chaos like free publicity. Every trending hashtag, every think piece, every meme featuring AI Riri was driving attention to Ironheart 2. But soon, the blowback reached a level even Disney couldn't ignore. What began as fan debates quickly turned into a full-blown industry controversy. Entertainment unions started releasing statements condemning the move. Voice actors warned that they had already been fighting against AI clones stealing their work, and now Disney had just made it mainstream. Stage actors argued that if the biggest entertainment company in the world could erase Dominique Thorne without hesitation, nobody in Hollywood was safe. And when journalists pressed Disney for answers, their official responses were cold and corporate. AI is part of our evolving storytelling toolkit. Critics went ballistic. Columnists accused Disney of playing God with cinema. Popular blogs wrote scathing articles with headlines like "Disney just declared war on actors" and "The day Hollywood finished." A viral petition demanding that Disney bring back real actors gathered hundreds of thousands of signatures within days. The conversation had officially shifted from Dominique herself to what Disney's move meant for the future of entertainment. Meanwhile, insiders leaked more dangerous details. According to reports, Disney had already begun scanning and archiving the likenesses of dozens of actors, preparing AI replicas just in case. The revelation sent shivers across the industry. If true, it meant Dominique wasn't a one-off. She was the first domino. But Disney didn't back down. Instead, they doubled down. Their executives went on interviews, blasting that AI Riri Williams allowed them to optimize storytelling without human error. They claimed audiences would get a flawless experience, free of scheduling conflicts, bad takes, or messy contracts. The subtext was clear. Actors were liabilities. AI was the solution. And while fans on one side praised this as cutting edge and the future, the backlash kept growing. Even rival studios started roasting Disney, hinting in their trailers and press releases that they still believed in human talent. The shade was obvious, and it stuck. But through all of this noise, one fact remained. Dominique Thorne had been erased, and the entertainment giant didn't care. And as Disney fought to spin their decision as visionary, Dominique herself was spiraling in a completely different direction, because the very career she had worked her whole life to build was crumbling before her eyes. While Disney was celebrating their AI experiment, Dominique Thorne was living a nightmare. Her name, once associated with Marvel's bright future, was now tied to Backlash. Every casting agent, every studio executive, every producer scrolling through social media saw the same thing. Dominique trending for all the wrong reasons. Behind the scenes, opportunities dried up. Roles she had been in talks for went silent. Some directors didn't want the baggage of being associated with her. Others simply worried she couldn't draw audiences after the Ironheart disaster. Industry whispers claimed she had been removed, not officially, but effectively. Her career momentum had vanished. And the cruelest part? Her AI double was thriving. Disney began releasing promo clips of the digital Riri Williams delivering lines with perfect charisma, sparking thousands of comments like, "This is what we wanted all along." Dominique was forced to watch as her own face, her own voice, and even her own mannerisms, the things she had once been praised for, were being used to overshadow her. She tried to pivot. She booked a few podcast interviews, tried to frame herself as a victim of corporate greed, warning audiences that AI was stealing souls from real performers. But the internet was ruthless. Clips of her emotional pleas were edited into memes. Reaction YouTubers called her bitter. Twitter threads dragged her every time she opened her mouth. Worse still, rumors began circulating that Dominique was struggling personally. Unverified stories claimed she had lashed out at her management, fallen out with friends, and even been spotted arguing in public. Whether true or not, the perception was enough. The more she tried to fight, the more people saw her as unstable. Meanwhile, Disney's PR machine kept the spotlight away from her. All official promotion was focused on Ironheart 2 and its AI star. Dominique had been scrubbed from the narrative entirely, as if she had never been part of Marvel at all. And for an actress who had once dreamed of being remembered as a trailblazer, the erasure was devastating. By the time Ironheart 2's trailer dropped, Dominique was no longer the face of Marvel's future. She was the cautionary tale. Industry insiders whispered about her like a ghost of what happens when an actor fails. Fans debated her downfall in comment sections. And worst of all, the AI Riri Williams was being celebrated as the upgrade, the superior version of the character. For Dominique, it wasn't just the loss of a role. It was the collapse of her identity as an actress. She wasn't just competing with other humans anymore. She was competing with perfection, and it was a battle she couldn't possibly win. But Dominique wasn't the only one in danger, because as her downfall played out in public, a bigger, more shocking question loomed. If Disney could erase her this easily, what would stop them from doing it to every actor in Hollywood? Dominique Thorne's downfall might have been the headline, but the deeper story was far scarier, because once the shock of her replacement wore off, people started asking the question nobody wanted to face. If Disney can replace one actress with AI, why wouldn't they replace everyone? Think about it. Studios spend millions negotiating contracts, juggling schedules, reshooting scenes, and dealing with the egos and scandals of real-life stars. But with AI, none of that matters. No sick days, no delays, no messy public controversies, just flawless, programmable actors who never age, never complain, and never demand a paycheck. For a corporation obsessed with control, it's the dream scenario, and that's what sent a chill across Hollywood. If Dominique could be erased this easily, what did that mean for actors who weren't household names? What about the extras, the side characters, the voices behind animated roles? Already, fans uncovered leaked reports suggesting Disney had quietly scanned hundreds of performers during recent productions. Background actors who signed contracts without realizing they were handing over their digital likenesses in perpetuity. It wasn't just about Dominique anymore. It was about the very foundation of entertainment. What happens when an entire generation of kids grows up idolizing characters who aren't real? What happens when the perfect AI versions of actors become more popular than the messy, flawed humans they were based on? And perhaps the most unsettling question, what happens when the technology advances so far, audiences can't even tell the difference? The implications stretched beyond Hollywood too. If AI could erase actors, why not musicians? Why not athletes? Why not social figures? The Dominique Thorne scandal was quickly being seen not as an isolated incident, but as the opening shot in a much bigger cultural war, one where creativity itself was on the chopping block. For Dominique, it was too late. Her name had already been etched into history as the first, but for everyone else watching, watching, actors, fans, creators, and even rival studios, her downfall was a warning, a glimpse of the future, and it was terrifying. So here's where we're left. Dominique Thorne, once seen as Marvel's rising star, erased from her own role and replaced by a digital ghost. Disney, unapologetically pushing AI as the new face of entertainment, betting billions on a future where real talent is optional. And audiences, torn between excitement for innovation and fear that Hollywood is crossing a line it can't come back from. Some people see it as progress. They argue Dominique simply wasn't good enough, and AI is the natural next step in entertainment. But others see it as the end of artistry, a betrayal of everything movies are supposed to represent: human emotion, human imperfection, human connection. Either way, one thing is clear. Dominique Thorne may be the first casualty of Disney's AI experiment, but she won't be the last. The door has been opened, and there's no closing it now. So the real question isn't just about Dominique, it's about all of us. When the line between reality and digital perfection finally disappears, will audiences even care? Or will they welcome the new age of flawless, artificial stars, leaving the real ones behind forever?